All right. Basically, guys, we want to talk about the controversy over them casting what they are calling a black woman as Cleopatra. Since this is your topic, Avidia, or do you want me to call you Avidia, or want me to call you by your real name? I wasn't sure.
Mama call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
No, he was there with
Sorry.
Muhammad Ali. He was telling it.
Mama call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
But I'm gonna let you kind of start it off, Avidia.
Speak, master.
Oh,
Speak.
you're muted. Hey, Avidia, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, basically, the controversy right now is that Jada Pickett's documentary about Cleopatra is portrayed being cast and portrayed by a black woman, and citizens of Egypt are they actually one person actually put filed a lawsuit against it, and a lot of people are upset, up in arms about the whole, you know, and they felt that Cleopatra was not black.
Well, let me ask you, Travis. Do you think, or have you done any research on this? I mean, what's your
Yeah,
knowledge on it as far as what so-called race she was?
well, you gotta now. There's a difference between. Okay, yeah, I have done some research. Basically, there's a difference between Kemet and Egypt. Once Alexander the Great, the so-called Great, conquered Egypt, she's the bloodline from that,
Yeah,
um, which is Ptolemaic,
Ptolemaic. Yeah,
um, yeah, era, which yeah, I don't consider her. I don't consider her Kemetic like the ancient Egyptians. I see her more as a colonizer.
yeah. I mean, that's basically what. Yeah, that's what
You
they
know,
were.
and
Yeah,
yeah, the Egyptians, the so-called Egyptians today are, once it was taken over by the Romans and the Greek,
and
the
Persians.
Romans
Yeah.
and the Persian, as well as uh, the Arabian,
Yeah.
Arabs who came and invaded Egypt, who live there now today. Yeah, they tout that, hey, Egypt. There's this constant push to try to take Egypt out of Africa,
Hmm.
Kemet out of Africa, because it's called Kemet. It's not called Egypt. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a reason why. And a great book that you should read is Sheikh Atib Diab's book
Oh,
about.
we read that already. Come on, man. I'm joking. Please go ahead and speak. Go ahead.
It's a great read, and I think it is. And um, I can't think of his name right now, but he's an Egyptologist who really spoke on that and showed the similarities between the so-called sub-Saharan and lower upper Egypt and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, my personal opinion, I don't consider her, um, I don't consider her Egyptian. I consider her more of a colonizer, um, and who occupied, Kemet and ruled, but them claiming that she's ancient, the ancient Egyptians, or I mean, because we're really conflating two arguments, because a lot of black folks are arguing that the ancient Egyptians are black, which they are, and the other side are upset that are pushing their argument that Cleopatra is
Egyptian.
Greek.
Yeah. Yeah. But
No,
white. Yeah.
she's a Greek,
Yes.
an Egyptian, which they're right, to a point, because
Hmm.
I don't know if she's biracial. I mean, it could be, but for all my point, my opinion is that she's a colonizer who just came, and she's from that line. She's not from the Amana period,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
King Tut
I
and
mean,
Queen.
she was literally the last pharaoh to rule Egypt. She was
Yeah,
so she's not
yeah.
even.
'Cause-
Yeah, go ahead.
oh no, no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, that's when Egypt fell. I mean,
Yeah,
it was a done deal
but that's the thing,
after
though.
that.
That's the thing I think people don't understand about Egypt. Egypt lasted for 5,000 years. I mean, just let's put it in perspective. America's only been around for 200. That's 5,000 years of history. It had three dark ages. It went through three dark ages. So it had three
Yeah,
ages of light, at least four. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
There was a point in Egypt where they forgot how to do hieroglyphics. That's how old it is.
yeah,
So this idea that that it's almost like, okay, we know that this country is predominantly white, right? And it's like it's like all that history being lost, right? And then somehow, for whatever reason, Barack Obama's grave is preserved, and they dig up Barack Obama's grave, right? And they say, oh well, the uh, the Americans must have all been black. You know what I'm saying? That's how ridiculous it is. Well, you got 5,000 years of history. Do you know how much admixture can happen in that time, especially when you're being conquered by multiple kingdoms? So this
yeah.
idea that so when I saw her, I was like, you know what? Because I looked it up. I was like, I don't think they've ever. I think it's right here. It's on the Wikipedia and I know it's Wikipedia, but you can find all the sources on Wikipedia at the bottom of the of the thing. DNA of Cleopatra. It was on the Wikipedia. Where is it at? I should have had it up. Now I can't find it. When I want the Wikipedia, I can't. It doesn't come up automatically. Oh, here we go. It's actually the first one. Um, if you go to the very bottom, right? Because I read through this whole thing, just kind of like, what's the big deal, right? Listen to this. To date, no confirmed tomb of any Ptolemaic ruler has been found. Consequently, genetic testing on Ptolemaic remains is impossible. Basically saying the only reason why they're saying that she's white is because she does have Greek. We know that she's of the Ptolemaic line, right? But here's the thing. Let's just use basic human sense. When or common sense, a when a kingdom colonizes another kingdom, usually the way they legitimize their rule is marrying into whatever that line, that kingdom's or that royalty's line is. So they'll take their daughters or something like that. So when I see this lady, this Adele lady, who's playing, uh, she's mixed race. She's half black. She's half white. But she looks Arabic. She looks like she's Middle Eastern. So is she? Let's take it by American standards, right? By American standards, like if Cleopatra was mixed, by American standards, she would be black. By American standards, also all the white people in America are complaining. Now I can see why some people in Egypt might complain, right? I can see why some Greeks might complain. You know what I'm saying? But like white Americans, y'all set the standard. One drop rule. There's so far no tomb has been found of this woman. So just so we know of basic, humans, like how they operate. Anytime you have a group of people who live close to one another, and if they're not trying to genocide each other, there's going to be admixture. So there's a good chance that even if she wasn't like sub-Saharan, super dark-skinned black, by American standards, she's probably black. Yeah, so that was my first contention with the whole thing. It was like, it's not like they picked someone who lives in like, the Congo to be they picked a mixed race woman. They were trying to, this is probably more likely she's probably like a brown skinned woman. You know what I'm saying? That's my first contention with this whole thing and why I think it's ridiculous. Was that no one has any real evidence of the claim other than the fact that she was do we know for a fact that she was from a Ptolemaic line, but that doesn't mean that she was white, like pure, like just like white skin, rosy cheeks, blonde hair, red hair, blue eyes, or whatever. Now I think there's some old depictions of her with red hair, but those are made like 1,000 years after she was alive or whatever, But here's my other problem with this whole thing. This is black women. This is them with their fantasies. Oh, Cleopatra was black and she had all this power, and she was with these white men. This is their fantasy. This is their fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like really black men should stay out of it, in my opinion. Not our fight. Not our fight. This is black women. They want to push their families, their fantasies, in the larger media or whatever. And white men and white women are saying we ain't having it. And I don't. So up to the point where I'm like, hey, look, let them fight that out. Let them fight that out. But I said enough. I'll let somebody else chime in.
Man.
No, I don't think there's too
I'm
much
like,
more we could say. You guys already said
I'm
most
not
of
gonna,
what I think common people
I'm
think
not gonna
about
jump
it.
on that landmine.
Yeah.
Y'all scared? Y'all scared to talk about? Everybody else talking about it. Why can't we talk about it?
I mean, it's an
Yeah.
old conversation. It's interesting that they put it new and now it's on Netflix. But goodness gracious, like when we were talking to Travis, man, Ivan Van Sertima, all these guys, they came before
Hmm.
Columbus. All this, man. You go to a Sonetta channel, and man, they've been talking about this. Oh
Yeah,
God, for
but
decades.
let's be honest though. Like I agree with some of the Afrocentric stuff, but some of it's been proven not to be true. So if they're
Right? Notice the people I mentioned.
hmm
Okay. Notice the people they are pretty fair when they talk about the research. Not the hokey pokey ones, but people like Brother Jabari, for example, would agree.
yeah,
It's not a new topic.
Jabari would say Cleopatra was probably more closer to the fair skin than she was dark skin. I think he would agree with that because he understands the history. He understands. Okay, look, this is the ending of Egypt. This is the ending of their light. This is when they've already been conquered. When they've already been ruled over by
Right.
outside influences. You know what I'm saying? This is literally the apocalypse of Egyptian civilization. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
So I agree. Go ahead, Travis.
well, no, I think Dr. Sheikh Adadia, he put forth a great argument, and he debated with the Egyptologists of that day, and they couldn't dispute what the evidence that he brought. He was well equipped. He
Hmm.
brought from the Greek scholars, the Greek scholars of the time who wrote about the Kemetic people and showed that these people were um, black. They used the melana, what the word melanin comes from.
Yeah.
The Greek word melanin comes from melana. But you definitely need to read the book. It's not some how people try to make it into some. He was well steady. It's not like
Yeah, I hear you.
what you said. Sonetta. I mean, it's nothing wrong with Sonetta and stuff like that, but no, you really need to read the evidence that he put forth, and they couldn't dispute it. All they could do is just it, they basically just dismissed it.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like
it's it's sort of
you
like
know,
it's I'm white and I say so, basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly
yeah,
that. So
Dr. Ben too. Don't forget him.
oh yeah, and Dr. Ben. I mean, the whole trying to take um, Kemet out of Egypt. I mean, out of Africa was all that was introduced in the 1700s because the slave trade.
yeah.
They could not allow that type of information to be out there, and so they had to make it a concerted effort to make these people Middle Eastern or white. I mean, if you look at their ID, it says white.
Well, I
It
think
doesn't say Middle
I think though that, and this is where I think black people get tripped up. Not anyone on this panel, but just in general, particularly black women, who probably haven't studied. I'm talking about on average. Some black women who are very well studied, who are very well versed on this, like some of the scholars you guys have been mentioning, is that when they hear Egypt, they automatically think black. They don't understand like this is 5,000 years of history. And I think all the scholarship that I've seen, even from white scholarship, has shown. Look, the further you go back, the blacker they get. I
Yeah.
mean, I saw this one document. I should have found it and I pulled it up, but it was they were testing the DNA of a pharaoh. I think from like around the time the pyramids were being made, because a lot of people don't realize that the height of Egypt was in the beginning, at its near its start, and then it progressively declined. So all the great monuments that were being built, that was built in the early years, the early dynasties, right? And it
Yeah.
declined, right? But they were doing some DNA on a pharaoh or something. I think it lived around that time. Man, I should have found it. But and he had this theory that Egyptians came from the Mediterranean or Europe or something like that. So when they when they got the test back and they said obviously he's sub-Saharan African, you should see his face. It was almost like it was this
Mm-hmm.
grand disappointment
Mm-hmm.
on his face. It was like what people are trying to tell you that for years. All
Yeah.
all the other evidence shows that. You know what I'm saying? That real ancient Egyptians, the one that started the civilization, were black people. You know what I'm saying? That came out of what's it called, Tasseti in Nubia,
And Khufu.
and even
Yeah. And Khufu. Yeah.
from the east when the Sahara before the Sahara turned into a desert. I think Robert Bauval talks about that a lot. These were black Africans. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And like Brother Jabari says, what you see in Egypt is the flowering of Africa. It's the pinnacle of African civilization. So I think that's another reason why they want to take the Kemet part, which means black. Some people say it's black soil. Some people think it's black skin. But they want to take that part of it. But my problem though is those types of conversations aren't being the type of conversations we're having isn't being had in the larger media. It's just Cleopatra was white because she has Greek ancestry, and it's almost like okay, checkmate. But no, it's much more nuanced than that. It's way more
Yeah.
nuanced than that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you brought that up, Travis, about about she's basically a colonizer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just language, and I understand how language. The whole, like language like sub-Sahara African. These made up term. I mean, all words are made up, but just to try to, or we're like Middle East.
Yeah.
Words like Middle East to try to say it's separate. I mean, we're in South Carolina. We're considered Middle East
Hmm.
of America. So it's just language like that is just so deceptive, and I'm just trying to figure out why is this concerted effort to try. I mean, hopefully I'll be working with Solomon Sose. He's a Malin director. He a director out of Mali, and and hopefully be working together soon. Uh, and we got Mansa Musa. We got other great empires, in West Africa and East Africa, and when you were saying Nubia and Kush and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the language is pretty much, similar to what they spoke, the customs, the traditions. Um, uh, I don't know. The actress, she looks. I mean, from her phenotype, she would look like she was from East Africa.
Yeah.
Either Ethiopia
Well,
or Kenyan.
she's British. She's British, but clearly she's.
Yeah,
I think I read that she's half black, and I think her dad
yeah,
was black and her mother was white. And I'm like, this has always been my theory. I don't know if DNA proves this, but I personally think Middle Easterns or not all Middle Easterns, because some would argue that Persians and which is modern day Iraq are more on the Caucasian side. But I think there's a large part of Middle East where they are a admixture of white and black that just goes back a long way, and they just became their own people because they have that look. When I see a lot of mixed race people around here that are half black, half white, you know, they could if certain things, maybe like the shape of their nose, maybe or something like that, or the eye ridge or something. But they be looking Middle Eastern sometimes, So this idea that race is this fixed thing. I mean, it's a political thing anyway.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, when you're talking about when you say we keep bringing up Persia, I keep on thinking Zuriat.
Hmm.
Zuriat, the black musician who taught the Europeans how to bathe and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
would like to see a movie about him.
Yeah.
They try to make him, some other thing other than and they need to make a movie about him, which would be awesome. I don't know if you're familiar about him, but Zuriab, I mean, his contribution to the world is phenomenal. But
Wasn't he the one who
hopefully,
introduced the whole 3 course meal thing
yes,
too? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, fashion, grooming, like toothpaste. I mean, making the brushing. I mean, they
I think
didn't
it is a
have
I
this
think it
stuff.
is a misnomer. I don't think he taught Europeans how to bathe. There was like a particular type of thing that he
Well,
did.
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Take that back. I'm sorry. That's a little. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah,
He
they
didn't
were
teach him how
bathing.
to.
They were bathing in
And
Europe.
he taught them that grooming, at least, about grooming themselves, for the women to shave,
Yeah, yeah,
and the hairs of their bodies, hairstyles and stuff, as well as to bathe twice a day,
yeah. It was
by
a it was a
cleanliness and
yeah, it
stuff
was
like
a
that.
particular type of
Um,
bathing custom I think that he brought to. Yeah,
correct. So
yeah,
yeah, but his influence is huge. I think that
yeah.
people need to. I would love to see a movie like that.